Good afternoon. My name's Nick Gibboni. I'm very blessed to be able to welcome you here today. I'm very blessed to work here at the National Center for Padre Pio. It's a really special weekend for us. I don't know if anyone was here for Mass, but this is the first Saturday of the month. And every first Saturday, we've been blessed to be able to do devotions to which came from the apparition in Fatima, Portugal in 1917. If you're here, you know Fatima, you know that Our Lady appeared to 3 children in 1917 and some of the amazing messages that came from those apparitions. Has anyone been to Fatima before? Yes, we have a few people. I have not, but I really hope someday I'm able to get there. But we have the second best thing today. Father Francisco Pereira. Am I pronouncing that right? I've been saying that for weeks. Okay, great. Father Francisco Pereira, or if you want to Americanize it, you might say Pereira, is here from Fatima, from the apparition sites. If you've been there, you know there's a few basilicas there, and it's an amazing place. And Father is the head chaplain of 12 different chaplains. They really try to cater so many different languages there at Fatima. And you might have heard me say this already, but I had no idea when I had lunch with him yesterday, and I asked him, I just assumed he travels a lot and speaks about Fatima, and he said, no, not really, maybe once every 1 to 2 years. And I was like, oh my goodness, and he was really grateful to be invited here. So this is a rare thing. Normally you have to fly across the ocean, go across the pond into Europe, into Portugal, if you wanted to hear Father talk or hear him celebrate Mass or anything. And I've been learning some incredible things about the apparitions. I thought I knew a lot. I had a lot to learn when I listened to Father. But to hear him really weave theology into it and really what's behind some of these messages is absolutely fascinating. So really glad you took the time to join us today. I would ask you to please help me in giving a warm welcome to Father Francisco Pereira.
Thank you, Nick, for your kind presentation. And thank you for being present here today. There is anyone from Portugal? Oh, bom dia. Vou falar em inglês, se me permitem, para ser mais acessível a todos. I start this talk with a thing that Sister Lucia said. And will I go to heaven? The theme of this talk is about hope in the message of Fatima. When we hear this question from Lucia at the beginning of the apparition on May 13, we understand what will inspire the 3 children and the pilgrims of Fatima throughout this history: the hope of salvation, the story of the people who feel and know that they are destined for something more than just the satisfaction of their physical needs. Spiritual life is the most important need. And grace and mercy are the 2 great pillars of the message of Fatima. They are the gifts of God that nourish and give meaning to the Christian hope that inspires those who allow themselves to be amazed by the divine light that once again, in a tragic time for humanity, 1917, a time of darkness and despair, through the maternal action of the Virgin Mary, brings new breath in people's souls and lives. And it came to pass that the word of the Lord came to me, saying, What do you see, Jeremiah? And I answered, I see a branch of an almond tree. And the Lord said to me, You have seen well, for I am vigilant over my word to fulfill it. The almond blossom is the first flower to bloom in the fields, hinting that spring is about to arrive. Here in this passage of Prophet Jeremiah, the almond tree serves as a metaphor for God's active and watchful nature, ensuring that his promises and prophecies are fulfilled. Jeremiah plays on the assonance between the Hebrew word shaked, almond tree, and shoked, a verb meaning to watch, to be vigilant. And so this God, who is vigilant over his word and fulfills it, is the one who continues to guide man's history so that they may reach their completely fullness. As Karl Rahner says, the personal and free God does not close communication channels with humanity and believers throughout the various, especially intense historical circumstances. We know that God's revelation finished with the death of the last apostle. But God does not leave us alone. And He keeps the church as a sign, as a continuing the work of Jesus. But in special ways, in special needy ways, God always found a means to be more present and to say to us, do not be afraid. In this Jubilee here, we are invited to witness the hope that we received at baptism. Pope Francis begins the bull of proclamation for the Jubilee year of 2025 saying this: Once again, we are immersed in a situation of despair. Wars, mass migrations, loss of trust in the structural bodies of society, and so on. But faith in God cannot make us lose heart. After saying to the children in May, you will have much to suffer, but the grace of God will be your comfort, when the children took the challenge of accepting and enduring the sufferings that were caused to them, upon learning that their cousins will soon go to heaven, Lucia became sad. Will I be left alone? And Our Lady responded, and do you suffer a lot? Do not lose heart. I will never leave you. My Immaculate Heart will be your refuge and the path that will lead you to God. On our own life's path, we find the light, a reference that makes us pilgrims of hope, who bring to others the strength that helps them to walk. Jacinta once responds to a soldier crying over his family's situation. Don't cry. Our Lady is so good. She will certainly grant you the grace you ask of her. And at the end of the rosary, she always prayed for a Hail Mary for this soldier. A few months later, he appeared with his wife and 3 little children to thank Our Lady for the graces he has received. The first letter of Peter exhorts Christians always to be ready to respond regarding the Logos, the meaning and reason of their hope. And Paul reminds the Ephesians that before their encounter with Christ, they were without hope and without God in the world. Of course, Paul knows that they had followed all gods from pagan religions, but they had a religion, and now they have these gods that they have are questionable gods. Um, no hope emerged from them uh, because they are fickle gods. They wanted to do their own will, and they wanted to use humanity as their playing field. Despite they having many gods, they were without God, and consequently found themselves in a dark world facing a dark future. In 1917, the Republican government of Portugal, inspired by the French Freemasons, wanted to build a society without God. The communist movement that began in 1917 with the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, which spread throughout the years and countries, sought also to create a society without God. Marx wrote, "Religion is the opium of the people. The true happiness of the people implies the suppression of religion." For the communist ideology, religion is harmful because it diverts the attention of the oppressed from the exploitation and class structure that permeates their daily lives. For Marxists, all human history is driven by economic factors and the conflict and struggle that unfolds, first between man and nature, and then within the social, financial, and cultural structures that define any society. This is why Our Lady in July apparition warns humanity against the dangers that the communist revolution in Russia will bring to the world and the need for its consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. She said, "I will come to ask for the consecration of Russia to my Immaculate Heart and the communion of reparation of the first Saturdays. If my requests are heeded, Russia will be converted and there will be peace. If not, it will spread its errors throughout the world, causing wars and persecution of the Church. The good will be martyred. The Holy Father will have much to suffer, and many nations will be annihilated. In the end, my Immaculate Heart will triumph." Next year, we will celebrate the centennial of the apparition in Pontevedra, when Our Lady asked from Sister Lucia to demand or to search for Russia consecrations. And that's in this context that Pope St. John Paul II emerges. He, who lived his youth first under the Nazi regime and then under the communist regime, and who, just 3 years after he was elected as Pope, suffered an assassination attempt that was foiled by the miraculous intervention of the Virgin Mary, who deflected the evil bullet and allowed the Pope to stop on the threshold of death. So in 1997, in the message to the Bishop of Leiria Fatima for the 80th anniversary of the October apparition, Pope St. John Paul II said, "Among these and other signs of the times, Fatima stands out helping us to see the hand of God, the provident guide and patient and compassionate Father of this 20th century as well. In the Bull of Indiction for the whole year 2025, Pope Francis wrote at the beginning, "Everyone hopes. In each person's heart, hope is a desire and expectation of good, even though we do not know what tomorrow will bring. However, this unpredictability of the future sometimes leads conflicting feelings, trust to fear, serenity to discouragement, and certainly doubts. We often find discouraged people looking to the future with skepticism and pessimism, as if nothing could bring them happiness. May the Jubilee be an opportunity for everyone to rekindle hope." And that's what we try to live this year, a new hope for the salvation of all humanity, all of them, all. In Fatima, this message of hope is fundamental aspect of the apparitions of Our Lady, who in each apparition announces the need to pray the rosary to achieve an end to the war and peace in the hearts of every person. The war in Ukraine, in the Holy Land, in Myanmar, in Sudan, in the Maghreb, and in Ethiopia are severe wounds that continue to destroy human life. And every day we continue to pray for peace. Still, we also have to build peace with our personal conversion. We still need to build peace in our families, in our parishes, in our communities, in our countries. Peace is a need not only far away where is war, but is only need in ourselves, in our small communities. Prayer and sacrifices are crucial because they help us transform our selfishness in generosity and charity. Guided by the hand of Mary, Mother and Teacher, who shines as a sign of sure hope and consolation for the pilgrim people of God, like as we read in the Lumen Gentium, the declaration about Church in Second Council Vatican. When the angel appeared to the little shepherds in the spring of 1916, he told them, "The hearts of Jesus and Mary are attentive to the voice of your supplications." And in the second apparition, he told them, "The hearts of Jesus and Mary have designs of mercy upon you. Offer them constantly to the Most High, prayers and sacrifices." This is the power of prayer and consecration. Let us remember the prayer of Pope St. Paul John II in Fatima in 1982. May the infinite saving power of the redemption be revealed once again in the history of the world. The power of merciful love. May it stop evil. May it transform conscience. May the light of hope be revealed to all in her immaculate heart. And regarding what the little shepherds say in the apparition of July, especially in the part of the secret revealed in 2000, Cardinal Ratzinger said in the theological commentary, "The importance of human freedom is emphasized. The future is by no means immutably determined, and the image seen by the little shepherds is in no way an anticipated film of the future, of which nothing could be changed. In reality, every vision occurs only to call freedom into play and orient in a positive direction. The meaning of the visions is therefore not to show a film of the future already fixed, but precisely the opposite. Its meaning is to mobilize the forces of change for the good. So, what we see in the prophecies is what could happen, but it shows that so that we can choose another path. So that because we have the possibility to change the future with our actions, with our decisions, with our effort to reach conversion, personal conversion, and communitary conversion. A Catholic historian, Vittorio Messori, writes, history can be changed with prayer, with penance, with the offering of one's suffering, with solidarity in the communion of saints. And I remember the expression that Pope Benedict had when he came to Fatima in 2010. He said, "Thank you, Jacinta, for your sacrifices for the Pope," because he understood that the sacrifices that Jacinta did in 1917 were not the sacrifices for Pope Benedict XV, that was the Pope at the time, were the sacrifices for all the popes, because with the grace of God, what we do in this moment of history resonates for all history. It's like when we celebrate Mass. We are present in the Last Supper. We bring the Last Supper to the moment that we are celebrating Mass. And so our prayers, our sacrifices are offered not for the moment, but because God is outside time, He took all this and applies in the moments of need. That's why Pope Benedict thanks Jacinta, her sacrifices for the Pope, because he himself recognized that he received the graces that Jacinta provided with her sacrifices. In the third part of the apparition, the angel with the flaming sword to the left of the Mother of God recalls images analogous to the Apocalypse. The angel represents the threat of judgment that hangs over the world. But stronger than the judgment is God's mercy and the motherly love of the Virgin Mary that came to Fatima to show us that it's possible another way. It's possible another path. The conversion, the salvation of the world is possible. The vision shows the force of love that counteracts the power of destruction. The radiance of the Mother of God is a call to change. In the last apparition, October 13, 1917, Lucia told Our Lady, "I have many things to ask of you. If you would cure some sick people and convert some sinners." And Our Lady responded, "Some, yes, others, no. They need to amend their ways, to ask forgiveness for their sins." In the Virgin Mary, in her maternal heart, shines forth merciful will of a triune God who is not indifferent to the situation of his creatures, who does not abandon the sinner in his guilt, who does not forget the unfortunate in their suffering, who does not ignore the victims and the excluded ones, who always offers his forgiveness and consolation, who always opens the door of hope when human beings close themselves off in their selfishness or in their unconsciousness. The message of Fatima becomes a hymn of hope. As Cardinal Ratzinger said, the Virgin Mary does not provoke fear or make apocalyptic predictions, but lead us to the Son, to the essence of Christian revelation. And it's interesting because Francisco said that when they saw the angel in 1916 in the three apparitions, they sensed this weight of God upon them. They finished the apparition very tired, exhausted. This weight of the angel, what are you doing? Pray. When they see Our Lady, they feel joyous. They feel light. They feel this happiness to be in the light of God. That's why Jacinta, returning home, continues to say, such a beautiful lady. Such a beautiful lady. And Lucia said, well, let's keep a secret. You must tell no one. And she said, yes, I will tell no one. Such a beautiful lady. And so when Jacinta arrived at home, what did she do? When the parents arrived, mother, we saw Our Lady in Cavaleria. And it started all these happenings. Because they feel such a joy that Our Lady brings to them, this hope. Even with the annunciation of the sufferings, but they felt joy. Fatima's message, condensed in Our Lady promise, is like a window of hope that God opens when man closes the door of it. And at that time, 1917, First World War, a black cloud covered all earth. And so God shone a ray of sun in this corner of Portugal, so that this light through the little children could slowly spread to all the world. This light offers the pedagogy of mystagogy. It means that the lady leads the children in a practical way, showing, not telling. And Our Lady showed the little children how they can change the world. Christian hope is infinite more than this, is the certainty that we are born to never die again, that we are born for the heights of grace, to enjoy happiness forever. We know about the notions of reborn of the Asian religions or faiths of Buddhism and Hinduism, constantly reborning, this circle, never-ending circle of life. For us Christians, we have the story of salvation, a linear story that starts with the creation and ends with the resolution and the end of the world and living with God forever and ever. So it's a linear story with the presence of God guiding the people. These centuries of the Israel preparing the come of the Messiah, the birth of Jesus, the foundation of the church, and this story of the church constantly developing, constantly deepening the meaning of the message of the gospel, growing in faith, growing in charity. Christian hope. Let's see what Paul wrote to the Romans. Who will separate us from the love of Christ? Shall tribulation, or distress, or persecution, or famine, or nakedness, or danger, or sword? In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. Christian hope is invincible because it's not a wish. It's the certainty that we are all moving towards something, not what we would like it to be, but what already is God. God already is. And so we are walking to be one with God, in communion with God. That's what the little children experimented when Our Lady in May and June showed them the light of God. They had the experience of heaven. That's why, and Lucia told us that's why when they saw hell, they are afraid, but they are assured that they will go to heaven. And so Our Lady showed a possibility for humanity. And once Jacinta was very sad, and Lucia told her, Jacinta, do not be afraid. Our Lady told you that you are going to heaven. And Jacinta said, yes, but I wanted to everybody go there too. And I know that they are risking going to hell. And I want to offer my life for the salvation of the poor sinners. And all Jacinta's life after the apparitions was lived as an action to free sinners from hell, like Jesus in the cross. And she died like Jesus in the cross, alone, with a wound in their heart. Man has constantly being confronted with tragedies and dangers, and Christian hope is this image of a multitude of peasants, artisans, workers, migrants in search of a better future and a more dignified life for themselves and their loved ones. It is the marked face of our grandparents, our parents, and so many who fought tenaciously despite the bitterness of difficult ways, fought for their children and fought in hope. These are the words of Pope Francis when he presented this special year, Jubilee Year of Hope. The history that we have, our grandparents, the history of all the church throughout the ages, walking towards Christ, trying to be better day by day, trying to be more capable to respond to the invitation of Jesus to repent, to accept the gospel as a meaning for life. Life has always been difficult, but there is always hope that makes us overcome fear. This hope is revealed in the myth of Pandora's box and in that of original sin recounted in the book of Genesis. In this myth, famous myth of Pandora's box, The opening of a box by Pandora, the first mortal woman to appear on earth, triggers endless tragedies in the history of the world. However, few remember the last part of this history, of this story. After all, the evils have escaped through the opening of the box. A small gift appears to take revenge on the evil that spreads. Pandora noticed that at the end, inside the box, that is Elpis, a being called Elpis, that means hope in Greek. And also in the book of Genesis, we saw the original sin and afterwards the promise of the Messiah, of the Savior, of those who born from a woman to win upon evil. That's the same story, hope that gives meaning to life. Hope is essential to humanity. It is often said that while there is life, there is hope. But that is hope that keeps life going. That is hope that helps a mother caring for 9 months a life in their womb. If man and woman have not cultivated this virtue of hope since the beginning of time and have not relied on it, they will never have left the caves, and their mark on history was ended. It is the most divine thing that can exist in human heart, hope, because hope makes us go forward and make us reach for the stars, reach for God. The society in which we live teaches us to be suspicious and cynical, to believe in nothing, to relativize everything, to live in indifference between good and evil. There is no good, no evil. Everything is the same. Between right or wrong, what I want is right, what you want is wrong. And so nothing is worthwhile. If there is no good and no evil, nothing has value. And if nothing has value, it's not worth investing in it, our time, our life. It's not worth taking risks. It's not worth committing ourselves. That's why people today do not want to marry, do not want to have children, because they do not see hope in the future, unfortunately. People close themselves of life like a star that collapses, becoming a black hole that sucks in everything around it, destroying everything around it. We cannot be a black hole. We can be stars. Even the smallest ones give some light to the world. Like little Francisco and Jacinta Marto, lamps that God lit to illuminate humanity in its dark and restless hours. And Pope John Paul II said, "May they shine upon the path of this immense crowd of pilgrims and all those who follow us on the radio and television. May they be a friendly light illuminating the whole of Portugal, in a special way, this diocese of Lady of Fatima." These are the words who Pope John Paul II said in the Mass of the beatification of Francisco and Jacinta. these small lights, these small lamps. And now I remember a scene of an American TV show, um, True Detective, the first season of True Detective. I do not know if you see the show, but I remember the final scene when one of the actors go out to the hospital still in the wheelchair, and both are talking, and then said, "Oh, there is so great evil in the world because this testimony of very disturbing assassinations, very disturbing crimes." And one said, "The world is under a black blanket who takes all the light." And the other said, "Well, are you seeing the stars? And are you seeing the small dots of light? For me, light is winning because we are keeping seeing the stars appearing. Light is winning because each small one light wins in darkness. And if each ever of us try to be a light, like Francisco and Jacinta, they were small children. They never left Aljustrel. They are far away at the time, far away. Lisbon is like another universe for them. And now I'm here talking with you about this light that still lives in our hearts. The Bible is the great sign of hope for the world because it's the story of a loving and passionate relationship between God and His creation, especially with man. After original sin and the promise of the Messiah Savior, God continues to meet man and walk with him along the world's path. Is the story of Revelation. In the story of Revelation, we discover that we are not alone. We are not being abandoned. Remember, in the Bible, God tells us 365 times, "Do not be afraid." Once for each day of the year. Our Lady appeared to the little shepherds and said to them, "Do not be afraid." I remember the Pope saying in Fatima, "Do not be afraid. Man be man." The homily of Saint Paul VI in Fatima in 67 for the 50th anniversary of apparition. I remember his voice. "Man, be man. Do not let the world change you." Neither death, as St. Paul writes in the letter to the Romans, neither death nor life, nor angels nor principalities, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor any other created thing will be able to separate us from the love of God that is Christ Jesus our Lord. God is love. We are His children, so He cannot abandon us. And so that's why He sends His mother and our mother to lead us with this tenderness of a mother, with this love that only a mother can have for us. Listen, Our Lady, she did not demand to the children. She asked them, "Are you willing? Are you willing?" She also treated them like adults, capable of choice and capable of decisions important, and that's why they are canonized. Because beforehand, before the 80s, the church thought that children are incapable of adult decisions. It's impossible for children to choose and live the virtues in a heroic way. That's why when Father Condor went to Rome with all the documentation for the canonization and beatification of the little shepherds, nobody in Rome wanted to accept the files because they said, well, they are children. It's impossible for children to be saints unless they are martyred. But it's impossible for children to have this conscient, holy life. But he said, well, the files are here, you keep them. And they started, and in 1918 or 81, I can remember precisely the year, Pope John Paul II decided, well, let's study the subject. Let's see if the children are capable of live the virtues of faith, hope, and charity in an extraordinary way. So we called some theologians, some psychologists, some child studies. Let's talk. Let's have a conference. Let's have a discussion about this. Because we have all these files, we have bishops from all over the world demanding us to beatify the little shepherds, little children of Fatima. We must decide. And they talk and talk and talk, and well, yeah, it's possible. Because they can be adults even when they are 7 years old. And so they accept the process, all the files, and started to study. That concluded in 2017 with the canonization of the little children. Mary brings us a message of comfort and consolation, not to be afraid. In other words, it's a call not to resign ourselves to the banality and fatality of evil, which we often resign ourselves of today because we say that we are powerless, that we can do nothing in the face of these big forces in the world, these empires, these lobbies. But it's a message of resistance, of overcoming the limits of evil with the grace of conversion. It is possible to overcome evil, starting with the conversion of the hearts to God, and consequently starting with reparation. Reparation understood as a call to be co-responsibilities of men in the salvation of the world, with God, of course. Therefore, Fatima helps us to read history in the sense of that possibility to change history from within, with the strength that comes from above. Sometimes we think that history can only be changed through great agreements, summits, political treaties, but the possible change of history is through the conversion of hearts in each and every person. This is one of the most impressive aspects of the message of Fatima, the calls for solidarity in grace, because we only look at the negative and think we are in solidarity with evil. The Lord comes to call us to be solidarity in grace, in goodness. My immaculate heart will triumph, said Our Lady. It means that this heart opens to God, this heart that was purified by the contemplation of God is stronger than guns or other weapons. Mary Fiat's, the word of the heart, changed the history. Martin Luther King once said, "Even if I knew the world would end tomorrow, I would still plant a tree." Hope is a supreme value. And that's what the message of Fatima is. Continues to be relevant and necessary for humanity today. And the seed that is planted in Covadeiria continues to grow today, reaching these places of the world, reaching the hearts of those who accept Mary as their mother. Thank you for your attention. Yes.
I just had a thought. Father said he's willing to do some questions and answers. I know often there's a lot of questions on the apparitions at Fatima. If anyone would be interested, he could have a couple minutes to take questions.
Yes.
There's some thought of why just the angel he's preceded here.
Yes. The apparitions of the angel came to prepare the children for the apparition of Our Lady. We cannot forget that angels are messengers of God. They are creatures created to be messengers of God. And so, to help to prepare the children for the important message, he came to them, and he came to them also to give them communion so that they can live their life fulfilled with grace of God. Lucia, that had at the time 9 years, received communion before already, but the little children not yet. And the most impressive thing is, Francisco just received communion twice. The first time by the hands of the angel, received communion by the chalice, and the second time, the day before he dies, when the parish priest went there, confessed Francisco, and gave him communion. Jacinta just received communion once from the hands of the angel, because when she was in the hospital, the chaplain of the hospital went there to prepare her to communion, but he saw that she had a little bit better, and she told her, "Tomorrow I will bring you communion." And at that night, she died. She passed away. So the angel came to prepare the children to the meeting with Our Lady.
Our Father's was Russia properly consecrated for Our Lady's work?
Yes. Our Lady asked the consecration of the world and of Russia in the July apparition, the secret. We must remember that the secret is just one secret in 3 parts. The vision of hell, the first part, the consecration to the Immaculate Heart of Mary through reparation, and the martyr church, this image, this vision of the people going up a hill, the Pope, the Bishop dressed in white, crossing the town, praying for the dead, and giving their lives with all the faithful. Okay, and then Our Lady in 1929 in Convent of Tui appeared to us and said the time was arrived for the Pope to consecrate Russia in communion with all the bishops in the world to my Immaculate Heart. Okay, the first consecration was made by Pope Pius XII. He consecrated the Russia and the world to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. This consecration was repeated more than once by multiple popes. When Pope John Paul II started about after his assassination, Lucia told him, we need to make the consecration. And what lacked in the former consecrations was the communion with all the bishops of the world. It was only a personal consecration from the Pope. But Our Lady asked to be made in union with all the bishops of the world. So, Pope John Paul II, in December 8, 1983, wrote to all the bishops of the world, telling them, I will go make the consecration of Russia and the world to the Immaculate Heart of Mary in the next solemnity of the Annunciation, March 25. And I want you all to be united with me for this occasion. So he wrote to all the bishops, demanding them to be united with the Pope. And so in May 25, he made the consecration. He asked from the shrine to send the statue that is in the little chapel to Rome. He was in front of the statue that he made the consecration. And after, when they are having lunch with the Bishop of Pereira, with Father Condor, that is the promoter of the cause of canonization of the little children, Pope wanted to know if the consecration was done as Our Lady asked. And Lucia from the convent in a telephonic call said, yes, heaven has accepted this consecration as Our Lady has promised. And Father Condor asked, how do you know? And she said, look to the west, look to east, look to the east of Europe. And it started the process of Solidarność, the union, workers' union in Poland. It came Gorbachev with Perestroika, Glasnost, and the miracle of Berlin Wall fell. And amazingly, Sister Lucia wrote in November 8th, 1989 to the Pope, we have the letter, saying that, dear Pope, the consecration was made as Our Lady asked in the day before the fall of the Berlin Wall. That falls in the next day, November 9, 1989. So we are complete. Of course, that the consecration is a consecration for that moment and for the people who live at that moment. And we need to renovate our consecration. We need to renovate the consecration of the nations because we are having new generations. We have new challenges in the faith. We have new threats to humanity from all over the world, not just Russia, not just communism. We see that this wild capitalistic way to see the world, seeing every person just as a consumer, just as a means to be richer, to be powerful. We cannot go to the internet without something removing, harvesting our data. What movies do we see? What music do we listen? What brands do we like to buy? It's impossible because they want to, and they try these things to reach engagement in the social media. And so they try to polarize people because when I see a thing that I don't like, I try to, no, there is not like that. So they try to put us all apart to gain power and influence. So that's why we need to keep making our consecration, the consecration of our communities to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. My second time in the United States, was in 2014 because the new bishop at the time, the new bishop of Archdiocese of Portland, Oregon, he wanted to consecrate his archdiocese to Our Lady, to the Immaculate Heart of Our Lady. And he asked for some representative of the Shrine of Fatima to be present in that consecration. And afterwards, I called to the secretary and asked him, how are things now? And he said, it's amazing. Almost half the parishes of our archdiocese started to have first 5 Saturdays devotion. We have increased confessions in an exponential way. So it's important to consecrate ourselves so that we know that we are not alone. We know that we have Our Lady helping us, being a refuge and the path to God, as she promised to Lucia. She is our refuge now. She is our path that she takes us by our hand and say to us, follow me. I will lead you to Christ. And in the shrine is important because we have the small chapel of apparitions, we have the basilica from the 50s, we have the big new basilica from 2017, but at the center of the shrine, do you know what we have at the center of the shrine? The Sacred Heart of Jesus. That's what is at the center, because Jesus is at the center of our life. I hope that I give you that. So we can continue to consecrate ourselves to Immaculate Heart of Mary. We can consecrate our communities, but the request of Our Lady was fulfilled in March 25, 1984. You can be assured. You're welcome.
Not sure what happened, but I just want to let you know, so for tomorrow, Father's going to be speaking tomorrow, his last day speaking here. We have Rosary and Veneration of Padre Pio as well as we normally do at 11:30. We're going to have Mass at 12:30. And then at 2 o'clock, Father is going to be giving a presentation on Sister Lucia and her writings. I didn't know, maybe most of you do, but I didn't know until a few weeks ago that after those apparitions in 1917, the Blessed Mother appeared to continue to Lucia, who became Sister Lucia, who is now Venerable Sister Lucia, the sainthood process, but in her later years, so writings of hers, is what Father's going to be talking about tomorrow. So thank you again so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great afternoon here. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.